Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. Welcome to our live question and answer class. We host this class each Saturday morning, 9 o'clock Seattle time, and it's nice to see so many of you here today. Feel free to leave your questions in the chat at any time. In the beginning of class, I'm just going to talk briefly about spelling and sounds. This is a topic we've been covering over the past few weeks and will continue to cover in future classes. And today I want to talk about the TH letters and the TH sounds. So, of course, you know in English we don't have one symbol for each sound. So letter T can say many different sounds, and the letters TH together can say two different sounds. But fortunately, it's fairly straightforward. Usually when you see a T and an H together, it's going to be one of these two sounds. The first sound that the letters TH make is the th sound, like in those or breathe. And the other sound that the letters TH make is the th sound, like in think or both. You might have noticed that my mouth looks the same for both of these sounds. So the tongue position, the way you hold the mouth is exactly the same for the th and the th sounds. The only difference is whether or not my voice is on. So when I say th, if I'm touching my throat, I can feel there's vibration here. So voiced sounds have, like vowel sounds, the th sound, the the n. You have to have your voice going, and if you touch your throat, you can feel there's no vibration. That's just air going through, no vibration from the vocal folds. So fortunately, most of the time, your brain already knows whether you should be saying the th or the th sound with these words. But if you want to examine that a little more closely, you can start to look for the symbol in the dictionary for the sounds. You can feel your throat. You can listen for the difference between, for example, breathe and breath. So there's also a different vowel there, but when I have breath at the end, there's just air, no voice, and breathe at the end, my voice stays on, and it's a different sound. Okay, so you can get help for exactly how to form the TH sound in my videos for American TH and in our Sounds of English course. I do have an ebook as well and a video course related to the TH sound particularly, because this is a sound that's difficult for many people to master. I have a lot of help and suggestions for once you can say the th, how to put it in words and how to link it together in sentences, since it's something that often slows people down. Excuse me, I need to sneeze. Now I can't because I mentioned it. Let's just go through these words just to give you some more examples. So we have, for example, those, them, weather, and breathe. The voiced TH is more common in the beginning and middle of words, and we use it a little less frequently at the ends of words. And then for the voiceless TH, we have think, thought, both, path, breath. I couldn't think of any examples with the voiceless TH in the middle, except for maybe without, but some people say without. So that voiceless TH is a little more common at the beginning, and then I would say particularly at the ends of words. Again, you can look in the dictionary. You'll see this symbol for voiceless and this for voiced. And you can use my videos to help you with these words as well. Okay, thank you. I will look for your questions now, and we'll take those. If you're watching this later on, not live, you can leave your questions in a comment, and I will come back to those as well to give you resources and additional help for that. Okay, so welcome. Nice to see everyone. We have a question about the words any, anyone, and many. So a request for a video about that. That is something I can cover in a future video as well, but let's just briefly talk about your words this morning. So we have any and anyone and many. So this is an example where the letter A doesn't follow its typical rule for saying the ah sound in English. And in these words, the letter A says the vowel eh, like in men or then. So words like any and many rhyme with the word penny. And it would make more sense if we would spell them this way, because then it would be consistent. But we don't. We do spell these with letter A. So for any, what you want to listen for is having that like get. Can you get, for example, you can use that to pair. Can you get any things for me? Did you get many men? So using many and men together can also be helpful. They have the same vowel sound. Any, many. Letter Y says the E, tense E sound. And then when we say anyone, here's another example where letter O says the vowel schwa, and also there's no letter for our W sound in one. But the word one is the same as this word won. We won the game. So for anyone, you can think about it like any one. I'll rewrite the schwa there with letter U, because in one we have the W sound, the sound, the schwa, and the N sound, anyone. Those are great words. Thank you for that request, and hopefully this touched on whatever's giving you trouble in those particular words. Great. We have a question about the schwa and the short I sound and whether they're interchangeable in unstressed syllables. Yes, I believe they are. Excuse me one second. That sneeze didn't come, but my allergies are still here. I apologize. All right, so we have the question about schwa and short I. So they're not 100% interchangeable, but in many cases you can't tell the difference whether you're using an I or an because they're both reduced vowels. So, for example, in a word like behind or return, these are typically going to be written in the dictionary with that I vowel, like behind, return. But if I say them as behind, return, it's not going to matter that much. Similarly, within a word, letter I and letter E in the unstressed syllable, letters I and E are often going to say the I sound. Letter A or U is often going to be written as the sound. But in many of my videos, I talk about specific words, and I model for you that really what you need there is just a reduced vowel. For example, if I said, organization, you'd see in the dictionary that it's going to have it's going to have a schwa here for that A, it's probably going to have a schwa there as well. It's probably going to have organization. But if I said this as organization or organization, there's really no difference. Organization. All of these reduced vowels, organization, are just, there's very little vowel quality to it, so you can't really hear if it's an I or an A. So yeah, that's a very good question, and I do, as I mentioned, talk about that in specific words. I have a video giving you some more examples like this, but there's a few cases where if you use an I or an and it may sound not exactly right. So try to follow what you see in the dictionary, but know that there's very little difference between those reduced vowels. And for a lot of people, in words like behind and return, if they try to do the I vowel, they might end up sounding a little too tense, and they might sound like behind and return. It's better to go in the direction of behind and return rather than getting too tense. So when we look at that, we have the E here, the I here, and the here. And this is the space in which you want those reduced vowels, and the E is too high. So if your I tends to rise up and be too high and E-like, then aim to use more of a schwa in those. Hopefully that answered your question, and yes, that's definitely an important point. Thank you. Okay. So we have a question about the word thunder. So thunder is a voiceless TH that, like we were talking about at the beginning. And letter U is vowel schwa. We have an N sound, the D sound, and an unstressed So there's not really a different way I would write it besides this, thunder. It's fairly straightforward in the spelling, but you do want that thunder. You can hear if I put a voice sound on there, it would sound like thunder. So it sounds quite different. Yes, and then letter U says vowel schwa, the sound. Great question. Thank you. Okay, so sorry, my allergies are troubling me a little bit here, so I apologize. All right, we have a question about the country, Turkey, and a different spelling and pronunciation. I would like to research that a little bit before I answer. Based on what I'm seeing, I'm guessing that it's more like Turkai, different syllable stress, or maybe Turkai. But I'm going to look that up. When I'm talking about place names, people's names, country names that are shifting from an anglicized pronunciation to being more correct, more like the local language, I do like to be careful in researching how the people in a place say that name. So I'll have to get back to you on your question about what we in English have called Turkey in the past and the correct pronunciation of that country now. Thank you for that question. I'll look it up and get back to you. Okay, we have a question about Coliseum. So excuse me, Sium. The stress in Coliseum is on the C syllable. So these letter O's both say unstressed schwa sounds, like we were just talking about. And then we have for the letter E, the stressed tense E sound, and then our letter U goes back to an unstressed schwa. So it sounds like actually it's not Coliseum. Sorry. Secondary stress on this first O. So I misspoke. First O is going to be the clear ah sound, like kala. So I will rewrite that here with an AH, ka. Little bit of secondary stress on it. Kala, very short on the second syllable. C is my main stress and my tense vowel, and then Coliseum. So this is a good example of a little bit of stress on that makes that letter O say ah, but then this one is fast and unstressed, and it's our reduced vowel. So here you can hear if I said Coliseum, doesn't make much difference. So the earlier question about I versus in the unstressed syllables, that's a good example of that as well. Thank you for that question. And I'll come back to your additional questions later. I want to make sure I give everyone a chance for at least one question, and then I can return to your additional requests. We have a question about comfortable. I do have a video talking about and breaking down a couple of different ways you'll hear people say this word. So one, if I'm saying all of the syllables comfortable, if I do it that way, it sounds like it has first syllable stress and a stress schwa. And then it'll sound like this letter OR, comfort. It'll sound like the sound, not an or sound. Then I'll have my T will be a flap, comforta. My A will be another schwa. And then I'll have a dark L with a schwa here at the end, bull, comfortable. But you'll often hear that people, native speakers, don't say comfortable. They don't do all four syllables there. And they end up changing the order of the sounds. It sounds more like comfortable. Still first syllable stress, but now comftra. Instead of furda, I lose this syllable with the and it just becomes a tr blend. Comfortable. Comfortable. People will also say comfortable. And that one's actually a flap again, comfortable. So there's a number of different ways we say it, and in the dictionary, it's probably going to show you this comfortable with all 4 syllables, but we typically would say comfortable or comfortable. I like this one. This is the one that I use. But of course, you'll hear a lot of different ways. So after class, I'll go back, put some timestamps in for what I covered today, and I'll give you a link for my video that goes into more detail about your word comfortable. Thanks for that request. Okay, we have a question about the letter A. All right, so the question is about the A vowel. Letter A in most stressed syllables, when it's the main vowel in the word, is going to say A, like in cat. And the viewer is saying that they feel that the A sound is stronger in apple than it is in ant. It is the same vowel, but the surrounding sounds make a difference in how something sounds. So when I'm saying apple, apple, I have time on that to use some length because that's stressed. And then the P sound the P sound doesn't change my A at all because I can be open, A, and then I close the lips for the P, apple. Versus ant, when I'm saying ant, I'm co-articulating the A and the N. So words like man, ant, etc., that n sound influences how the A sounds. So a lot of people use a little bit less opening. So if I'm saying apple, my jaw can open, my tongue is down in the front pretty far. When I say and, I might not open quite as far. My tongue is going to have to lift to the n spot soon. And that n is a nasal sound where there's resonance in the nose. The A may end up sounding nasal when the nasal sound is following. So it affects how the vowel sounds. When I say and, my A vowel sounds less open, more nasal, and a little different. You can hear that particularly if I did just at without the N and ant with the N, that N sound gets a little bit nasalized. So that's a good observation. It is still the same vowel, and you don't have to try to change your A in ant. Make sure, in fact, that it doesn't become too close like ant, but know that it will sound a little bit different in native speakers and in your speech just because that N is coming and is following it. Yeah, great observation and great question. Thanks so much. Okay, we have a question about the word obvious. I do have a video for obvious, and I'll give you a link for that after class, or you can use the search tools on the channel. If you're on Speech Modification Seattle, use the search box and type in your word or your question, and my videos will show up for you. Obvious is tough for a lot of people because the B and the V combination can be tough. So what we do here is the letter O says the ah vowel, just like we were talking about previously. Obvious. But we don't say obvious, that b-v combination. Basically, we say we form the lips and close them for the B sound, obvious. But we don't let the air release on the B. So I go to form the B, obvious, and then I release right on the V of the vius, of the second syllable with the V. So the difference between b and v is that b doesn't continue and v can continue, and then b is with both lips and v is with the upper lip and the upper teeth and lower lip. So just close your lips, obvious, and then release them into the v. One thing you might want to try is saying the second part of the word, vius, and then obvious. And so you just want the air and the sound to stop. You may not even need to fully close the lips. You can say obvious, obvious. because sometimes people will just leave that B out entirely. Obvious is okay. It's better to try to close a little bit. Obvious. It's obvious. That's definitely a difficult word. Thank you for that request. Okay. And then, okay, let's go back to some repeat questions or some second questions from people. So we have a question about semester. The semester has stress on the second syllable. So the first letter E is going to say a schwa sound, sa. And then we have our stress. Second letter E is going to say the like in get or mess, semester. And then we have the unstressed at the end. So it sounds like semester. This T is not going to be a strong T like semester. It may sound a little more like a flap or like a D, semester, mester. Excuse me. Great word. Thank you so much. Okay, and we have a question about the city name, Albany. It's got first syllable stress, just like the word all. So that vowel is the ah vowel, like in saw. So you can rewrite it with AW if that helps you. And then the second letter A is going to be a vowel schwa, Albany. Yes, Albany, New York. Okay, great. Thank you. We have another question of common versus come on. So in common, we have the first syllable stressed and the letter O says the ah sound. And then this letter O is going to make very little sound. It may be a small schwa, or it might just be a syllabic N where we go right from the to the n. Common. You kind of have to put a little bit of a vowel in there, so an I or schwa would be good. Thinking about that like common or common. But very little vowel. Try to go as quickly as you can from the to the n. Common. Versus come on. Come on, you're probably going to stress the on just because in phrasal verbs like this, we get stress on the preposition because it changes the meaning of come in versus come on. So come on, we do actually use that as a noun sometimes, but more commonly we're going to use this as the verb phrase come on with stress on. So that's the first difference. It'd be secondary stress here. Come on. But then we also have totally different vowels in come on as well. So we have the schwa in the word come. So you're going to say come and then a ah vowel in the second syllable. So common and come on. Yeah, great observation. Different vowel sounds, different syllable stress in those two. We have a question about the word beyond. So usually letters BE say the I sound, like in behind or because they're unstressed. But in beyond, it's kind of hard to do the I and then follow it with this y glide, beyond. So I think this is one example where we do a stressed E or a tense E. It's not stressed. The stress is still on the second syllable, yond. So that looks like beyond. With our ND sound, beyond. Beyond the horizon, beyond expectations. Yeah, great word. Thank you so much. Okay. Let me just check and see. There may be a few more questions to answer, and then we'll wrap up for today. I'll be back again next Saturday at the same time with our live question and answer class. And of course, You can leave your questions and comments throughout the week, and I'll cover your words in our Word of the Day series. It's been great to have so many comments and questions. It really helps me know what videos to make next. And also, oftentimes people will ask me, make a request or a question, and I've already covered their word, so I can direct them to where they can find the answer. Okay, we have a question about the word million with the L instead of the Y sound. So million. I think you need both the L and the Y sound because we have the first part is mill, and then we have our yun sound, million. So the Y is really more that what the letter E is doing. Million. I guess I can do kind of million versus million. But I think in American native speakers will typically use that glide there, million, because the eon we glide it together, million. Million also makes it 3 syllables instead of 2 syllables, and we tend to reduce it and do the 2 syllables, million. But you do need the L. Otherwise it'd sound like million. Yeah, the L missing would not sound correct. Great question. Thank you. I have a question about the word vulnerable. I do have a video for vulnerable as well, and there's a couple of different pronunciations here. We have first syllable stress, vulnerable. So I can do 4 syllables, vulnerable. That would sound like vulnerable. Here's another place where we tend to reduce a little bit and drop one of the syllables, and it would sound like vulnerable. So rather than nura, those 2 syllables go fairly quickly, and you'll hear people saying vulnerable. There is, we can't go directly from the N to the R, so that syllable's a tiny bit there, but just notice that you don't want to be too slow like vulnerable, but rather vulnerable. These 2 go very fast and kind of get squished together. If that was too quick of an explanation for you, after class I'll go back through and I'll put a link in the comments and in the description for the video to go to my video about vulnerable so you can get a little bit more detailed help for it. Thanks, that's a great question. Okay, we have a question about letter O, how to know when it is pronounced as a schwa and how to differentiate between a in apple and ow in owl. So in owl, we have the diphthong, ow, just like in cow, for example. So that's a gliding. I'm moving from the ah to the ow. In terms of how to know when it's pronounced as schwa, I would suggest just learning some of the most common words like come and somebody, someone, mother. You can use my video for vowel schwa to learn the most frequently used words that have the schwa sound. Also check out our online courses. Our Sounds of English course walks you through and gives you a long list of words where letter O says the schwa, the sound. Also try to develop your ear and listen for when you hear a word like some, know that this some and this some are the same. And when you listen for that sound, I think oftentimes people see the letter O and they think they should be doing something different. And if you can use your ear and start to develop that ability to hear the sound more clearly, it should help you. In the meantime, it is a little bit of a process of learning which words say which sounds, but you may actually know more than you think from having heard and spoken English. So watching out for that. I do have some videos specifically talking about letter O and the different sounds it can make, and there are some patterns, but because our words come into English from all these different sources, it's not always consistent. So I can't count on spelling to help me. I need to just get that sound system of English. So our Sounds of English course is very helpful for that, as well as our American Accent 6-week course. It walks you through all of the sounds of English, as well as the spelling, accent error patterns to watch out for, and a way to kind of really practice to establish a firm understanding of hearing and pronouncing the sound. That tends to help then with when it comes to spelling versus sounds. But spelling and sounds are something that we'll continue to cover in this Saturday class, and we often talk about schwa and also vowel letters versus vowel sounds. So do check out my videos and those courses for that. It should really start to help you solidify and feel more confident knowing which vowels are in which words and which way we pronounce the various letters in different words. Thank you for your question. Okay. Question about whether letter O is an O sound or an ah sound in the beginning of words. Depends on the word. And often it's actually it can be not either. So in a word like other, for example, it's the schwa sound. In ocean, it's going to be the O sound. The ah sound, like opposite. There it's the ah sound. So again, kind of looking at the individual words you tend to use the most, learning the symbols for the sounds so you can look in the dictionary and see which one it's doing, and listening, because the O and the ah sound quite different. Often in American English, it's most common in a stressed syllable for letter O to say ah. So in hot and not, job and problem, it's going to be the ah sound. That's the biggest percentage. We also have letters with PRO, but they can also say all three of these. They can say the unstressed schwa like, they can say ah like problem, O like program, or like project, for example. So I do have a video for helping you with PRO specifically. Letter O, the sounds it makes. Do check out our Sounds of English course and our videos on vowel sounds, vowel letters, to help you get more details on that. Okay, great. Thanks so much. Wonderful questions today. It was really great to hear what you had to say, which words you were looking at, and a lot of questions related to spelling and sounds, which is the topic we've been pursuing and will keep working on in the coming weeks. If you're watching this later on, do feel free to leave your questions in a comment and I'll come back to you with some answers and resources. I'll be back again tomorrow with another Word of the Day class, as well as next Saturday we'll have our live question and answer class. Thanks so much those of you who have subscribed to the channel, and especially our channel members. Channel members will be back again tomorrow with our members only class. It's our smaller group question and answer class, and channel members can ask their questions throughout the week and I cover them for them on Sundays, whether or not they can attend the class live. So if you're interested in getting a little more, some extra perks from the channel, you can click the join button and check out the membership options. Thanks everyone for being here today. It was wonderful to see you. Great questions and a great class. And I look forward to seeing you again throughout the week during our Word of the Day classes and next Saturday in our live class. Thanks everyone. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye everyone. Thank you.